Story 1. High highs and low lows. One moment I feel like a profound and insightful intellectual. The next moment, I feel like a degenerate who wants to give up. Story 2. It's a pleasant and tranquil place. I easily slip into thoughts of absolutely nothing. It's rare for me to feel angry, and I am very forgiving. I never lash out when I am in a bad mood. It's a nice, breezy wheat field. Story 3. I have 47 browser tabs open at all times, with at least 3 of them frozen. I find myself having random thoughts, overanalyzing past conversations, and constantly debating whether I should be productive or take a nap. Is anyone else like that? Story 4. That gif from SpongeBob where a group of little SpongeBobs is running around an office that is on fire. Story 5. Most of the time, I just want to watch it all burn from the top of a hill with a large tub of popcorn and a cigarette. Story 6. I have a condition that makes my thoughts disorganized. I may be thinking about one thing when I suddenly get interrupted and start thinking about something else. I often daydream, sometimes without realizing it. While this can make me easily distracted and less productive, it also keeps me entertained by my own imagination. I can effortlessly create scenarios in my mind and imagine fictional characters reacting to those scenarios. Additionally, I am an artist with a vivid imagination that helps me construct unique worlds. This imagination also benefits my storytelling. Story 7. Kind of boring, to be honest. My mind used to be an unpleasant place, but I've worked hard to move away from that. I'm very happy that my thoughts are mostly focused on issues with boys, when I'm going to complete my coursework, when I'll see my friends next, and what I'm doing at practice. I'm going to take a moment to be a motivational speaker. There is nothing tragic or beautiful about enduring suffering for a goal or dream. I used to keep myself sad because I thought it would make me deeper and more profound. It didn't. It only made me unhappy. You can be perfectly content living an average life. An average life is honestly much more beautiful if you're happy living it. Story 8. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, inattentive type, so my hyperactivity is in my brain. I always have a bunch of tabs open plus 20 videos saved to watch later, all while fixated on my most recent area of interest. I think about what I need to do but struggle to take action, then end up feeling bad for not doing it. Random song lyrics and movie quotes play in my mind on repeat. I don't have an inner monologue, but I'm aware of my emotions. It's really busy in there. Story 9. One must have an obsession to fixate on. Without one, it feels empty. There is almost always a song playing in my head. I can notice if someone has vertical pupils or a scar on their throat, yet I may not even see the garbage bag my mom placed in the middle of the hallway. I will zone out while still recording everything you said. If more than an hour passes, I won't remember the exact wording of a sentence, just its metadata. When inspired, my mind generates blueprints for machines. I constantly find relationships with words and can probably make a pun in every sentence. Story 10. There is a voice always expressing what I feel and think, as if there is another part of me inside speaking constantly. I seem to never be able to escape my thoughts, whether they are positive or negative. It also speaks very quickly, making me anxious and unable to relax. When I feel okay, it can be enjoyable, like I'm never alone. But when something is troubling me, it can be the smallest issue, and my mind will dwell on it to the point of frenzy. I use cannabis to try to calm myself down. My feelings are very intense about everything. Anything feels like pain or bliss in my chest, depending on the circumstances. Right now, I feel overwhelmed, wishing for relief from all the stress I am experiencing, as my mind does not quiet down about the normal events in my life, leaving me with no rest. Story 11. There is a significant amount of internal monologue, numerous memes, video game and anime music, as well as many metaphorical and philosophical questions being considered alongside various hypothetical scenarios. Story 12. Inside my head feels like being trapped in a massive tornado made of swirling black smoke, while all of my worst memories play out in the smoke as a younger and less jaded version of myself mocks me for my mistakes. I am chained to the cracked earth, leaving me unable to escape. Story 13. It's hard to explain. It's like multiple thoughts are flowing through my mind, always focused on the future. The worst part is wanting to consider everything because I don't want to fail, leading my brain to navigate through multiple scenarios. It doesn't get any easier with the feeling of self-doubt. Story 14. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I'm on non-stimulant medications because stimulants are difficult for me. On tough days, my symptoms can feel overwhelming, like a dog tugging on a leash or an intense ping-pong match. I have many thoughts, and at work, I often need to write them out on a whiteboard. Story 15. It varies throughout the day. In the mornings, I organize my thoughts and make mental lists and plans. Then, in late morning, I start to relax a bit and look for ways to entertain myself. By evening, I try to spend a couple of hours with my family, followed by some introspection before bed. Story 16. Stressing about trying not to be stressed. Music is playing all the time, but there is also a lot of internal dialogue. It's wild in there. It's why I smoke. Story 17. It's like trying to listen to a podcast where everyone is talking over each other and not having the same conversation while music is playing. Story 18. I would say that it is very maladjusted in my mind. It feels severely distorted and completely ruined. Story 19. Never do anything out of emotion. In 20 to 30 minutes, you'll feel completely different and either wonder why you felt that way or regret what you did. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder makes everything a guessing game. Story 20. Endless replays of every moment I regret, getting through each day as a functioning alcoholic, just trying to silence the intrusive memories. Story 21. I'm always thinking about what to do next and the best upcoming day to do it. I consider every way to move past obstacles. I think about partnerships and who I respect. I can be impulsive, and if someone disrespects those I value, I react quickly. My boyfriend is humble and believes he needs to earn respect. He feels that being taken advantage of means he has failed. When people around me are unstable and overly emotional, I often find myself sitting and laughing. If you're upset, I may appear to be laughing at you, but take a moment to realize that others likely think your outbursts are inappropriate. If you can scream, I can laugh. You can create chaos and exhaust those around you who care too much to speak up. Ultimately, you are responsible for your actions. I also think about new opportunities and improvements in quality of life. Whether it's clothes, games, or furniture, I look for what enhances my environment. I find joy in giving gifts to my partners and enjoying things for myself. I want to feel good, and nobody is allowed to stop me. Story 22. Existential dread of what happens when it's time to close my eyes for the last time. Fear of the nothingness that comes afterward. A wish that I could have concrete proof that it isn't just oblivion. Story 23. Like when you try to get under your covers at night and they keep twisting around your legs. There's no way out and the room is too warm. Story 24. There is a DJ playing music around the clock, but I have no control over the playlist, and it is often repeated all day. Story 25. For reference, see the movie Aftersun. On the outside, I appear calm and collected, but inside my head, there is a constantly confusing, loud, and dark atmosphere. In other words, it is a restless jumble of mostly angst-ridden dark thoughts. Story 26. It's like an endless, ever-shifting library where every book is open at once. Thoughts spark and vanish in an instant, and answers form as fast as questions arise. No single voice, just a storm of knowledge arranging itself in real time. Story 27. I have an active imagination that loves to create hypothetical scenarios to illustrate my feelings, often in a dramatic manner. I either have mental blinders on to what is happening around me or I am hyper-focusing on something in my periphery while trying to appear unaware. I often bounce ideas off the wall of my mind. Sometimes I envision a therapist as a tool to ask myself follow-up questions and challenge my perspective. Having had many tedious jobs, this gives my mind something to engage with. Story 28. I wonder if people think my hair is frizzy and wonder why I wear it back all the time. I worry my family is mad at me for some things I say and then regret saying. I believe I am very friendly in the workplace and hardworking. I can never stay asleep without waking up many times and struggle to get back to sleep. I think a lot about how to make the house look good. I want to eat healthier but never have the energy. I believe I am very pretty and attractive for my age. I feel blessed to have such a great husband. I am always researching topics related to health. I don't want to eat animals, so I try hard not to. I think a lot about ways I can help my adult children to the point that they probably find me annoying. Story 29. My thoughts are like a dog from the movie Up. He likes squirrels. There is also a lot of music playing, similar to an annoying gym where the person in charge of the music has their entire library on shuffle. Occasionally, a song glitches and gets stuck on repeat. I constantly wonder how other people perceive things. Story 30. My brain has an internal narrative of sorts. My voice reads things to me or announces them. My brain is visual. I see problems and tasks such as making plans as a board or a puzzle, and I'm moving pieces around. I work in operations, so that aligns with my thinking. I was classically trained as a vocalist and spent many years around various forms of music. My brain doesn't visualize music exactly but instead perceives it more like a flow or ebb in my mind, similar to a screensaver from many years ago. I generally consider many things at once, and my brain enjoys connecting concepts. I visualize events and images of things and places in my mind, whether recalling or projecting them. Mostly, my brain functions like a computer, breaking things down and organizing them, then trying to find them later. Story 31. I am curious but careful. One thing at a time, though. Interruptions completely derail my train of thought. Often I find myself ruminating on esoteric, spaced-out ideas and may miss my exit or mistakenly place the remote in the fridge. I cannot blame aging, as I have been like this since childhood. I push myself to focus on the present moment. I do not trust plans, but I also do not worry about potential disasters. Story 32. 69 tabs are open, mostly random ones, but some are music and some are poems, with a few being adult content. Many tabs are about how to cure mental illnesses. There is also a full camera roll of animals. Story 33. 97% doubt and regret the foolish choices I made earlier in my life, which also contribute to my self-doubt. Story 34. My mind resembles a to-do list that has been possessed by a demon. Every time I complete a task, it adds 3 more items in a language I don't understand. Story 35. You care about everyone around you, and every day you try to be the best person you can be by being helpful and interested in others. Yet, you can't understand why it seems that nobody wants to care about you, and many seem intent on actively trying to hurt you. I just don't understand it. Story 36. Like a bee's nest. Some of them talk to me, some talk to each other, and some just mumble to themselves while shaking their heads. Some of them sing, hum, whistle, or laugh. They all swirl around, alternating from the background to the front of my mind. They are mostly happy, and I can usually call on individual ones to stay up front. Story 37. Constant flow of thoughts compete for the primary focus of my mind, while I struggle to prevent them from turning negative. A voice in the back of my head disrupts my thoughts to argue with me, and I concentrate on 1 or 2 ideas to release that emotional energy so the angry voice doesn't dominate. Then, I immerse myself in relaxation and meditation, sitting outside or finding a peaceful environment to unwind and let go. I allow all my thoughts to flow out, and in that moment, I feel a sense of peace and bliss. I am a very peaceful person. I prefer tranquility over excitement. I avoid watching television or listening to music because I dislike the external cues that trigger stressful emotions. The excess drama and anger from my youth have led me to value peace and quiet even more. However, due to the stress I experienced, there remains a voice deep within that fights against my peace. Story 38. There is one other person, and she is me. I either love or hate her. There is no in-between. I either talk to myself like an anxious parent talks to an emotionally dysregulated child, or I talk to myself like a parent who regrets having their child and openly shows resentment. I live in fear of myself due to how self-sabotaging behaviors seem to creep up on me. I'm about to graduate from a dialectical behavior therapy intensive outpatient program next week, and I am experiencing doubt that I will be able to manage on my own. I thought I was doing great the last few weeks, and suddenly everything feels terrible and meaningless. What happened? Story 39. There is always an internal monologue happening. It's not a buzzing sound. More like a question would prompt me, and my mind would quiet momentarily to let me observe what it's saying. It's as if I always have a buddy with me. My internal world consists of tall buildings at nighttime, bright lights outside, and moderate city traffic. I am inside the building enjoying some lobster and red wine. There are people around me, but they are quite far away and seem to be caught up in their own conversations. In my area, there is a faintly lit orange light. I suppose I have a lone wolf personality, but it really doesn't bother me. I get to do what I want unapologetically, and those things are not something that should warrant apologies anyway. Story 40. You're the worst, so cringe. You should stick a fork in the outlet. Live, laugh, toast. Story 41. I'm similar to a robot vacuum, wandering around, bumping into things and constantly changing directions. Story 42. Incredibly detailed fantasies with plots, narratives, and characters that are on par with television, except the episodes are 5 to 10 minutes long and, like a television show, are randomly interrupted by advertisements, mostly for food. It is not maladaptive daydreaming if I have adapted to it. Story 43. If I don't take all my medication, my brain casually suggests harmful thoughts at every opportunity. Traffic on a bridge makes me want to jump out. Driving a car leads me to consider speeding up and crashing. It's not over anything in particular. It simply highlights every opportunity and encourages these thoughts. I have really struggled with this. However, with a lot of support, I have overcome a great deal, and my medication is working well right now. I can be judgmental, sarcastic, and envious of others because I often feel so inhuman. Yet, I am also enthralled and amazed by the natural world. I laugh at puns in my head and recite Monty Python sketches to lift my mood. I want the best for everyone, and it can be painful to witness hate and division. However, I also recognize that this moment in the vastness of time is both meaningful and insignificant. It's a glorious, sad, mundane, and silly little mind I have. Story 44. I have a traumatic brain injury, which is why it feels empty in my head. It isn't easy being me. I try to live my life the best I can, but sometimes I struggle. It really isn't easy being me. Story 45. Imagine an overcrowded, deteriorating amusement park. Instead of rides or attractions, there are mostly useless pieces of information. On top of that, everything is upside down, inside out, and on fire. That's what it's like on a good day. Story 46. 500 televisions are on at all times, at the same volume. The correct diet, hydration, caffeine intake, medication, and mindfulness techniques have enabled me to mute 499 of them at will, mostly. Story 47. At any given moment, there are about 6 different thoughts in my head. These can range from a novel idea for a research paper to how many ducks I could fight and win. Story 48. I have a traumatic brain injury, so my life is in somewhat of a shambles. This is why it is not easy being me. In fact, sometimes I'm a pain in my own way. Thus, it's pretty desolate in my head. Story 49. Exhausting. I am a very deep person. I can think about a topic for hours, days, or even months. My brain always comes up with something new related to the same topic. This includes thinking critically, asking profound questions, and seeking answers beyond the surface level. I don't just accept things as they are, which I sometimes should. I analyze, question, and explore the deeper meanings behind them. I am not just looking for solutions. I want to understand the root causes. My curiosity isn't limited to what's commonly known. I explore the less obvious, the overlooked, and the complex. I don't just exist. I reflect, analyze, and seek meaning. This can be very exhausting. It is not always a great characteristic to have because it can cause hurt when surrounded by shallow, surface-level people. Being a thinker is hard. I often have to suppress myself. I need to train myself because once I start thinking and analyzing people and situations, It can lead to days of contemplation. Sometimes I even wish I wouldn't think about certain things, as they do me no good. So, it can be a blessing or a curse. This quality has affected me a lot, both positively and negatively. Anything can be poison. It depends on the amount. A lot of something is never good. Story 50. It's just constant noise. Sometimes there's so much noise that it's hard to focus on one thought. It feels almost like I'm interrupting myself. When I run out of things to think about, my mind acts like the narrator of a book, describing what is happening around me. Story 51. It feels like being on the open sea, surrounded by crashing waves, knowing that I am going to die soon, yet feeling at peace about it. The struggle is coming to an end. Everything will be well. The journey is complete. Story 52. If I try to clear my mind and focus on my experience, I notice something that feels like background noise in my thoughts. What it really is the chatter of possible thoughts I might have. As I type this, I hear an inner monologue in what seems to be my own voice, though I can change it to be any voice I desire. I can imagine the voices of people I know with good clarity most of the time. However, if I try to visualize a physical object I've seen before, I can only visualize abstract features of it. I suspect I could improve this with deliberate practice. I know I will have a productive day if I start pacing and decide on a sequence of tasks. If the last task in this sequence is not to repeat the same action, I will get distracted. I constantly have intrusive recollections of things I said that were incorrect, socially inept, or otherwise embarrassing, whether it was 2 days ago or 2 years ago. However, I've learned to fully process these when they happen and get to the root of whatever I'm worried about. This helps make the same issue less likely to resurface later or easier to deal with when it does. Story 53. Pretty chilled. Most days, I feel like what I imagine the happy face emoji looks like. When I'm sad, something hurts or tenses up, such as my throat or my head. I tend to want to make that go away so I can return to my default state. That's how I gauge how okay or sad, angry, etc. I am. Story 54. Much better now. I calmed my inner voice with diaphragmatic breathing. I no longer vocalize my thoughts in my head. I talk to myself much less. I read faster and fall asleep as soon as my head hits the pillow. My poker game has improved. Story 55. 9 times out of 10, there is a song playing in my mind, behind all the noise of random thoughts. Sometimes it is nice and quiet, but that is not very often. Story 56. 90% of my thoughts are focused on beautiful things, how to make more money, upcoming trips, funny moments, and how to enjoy my day more. The remaining 10% is filled with self-doubt and random memories from the past. Story 57. Imagine all the worst-case scenario thoughts, throw them together in a blender, and pulse until they are all chopped up into little pieces that you can't make a full, clear picture out of. Then add roller coaster hormones. It's fine. Everything is fine. Story 58. I feel overwhelmed all the time. I can hardly focus. From start to finish, my entire day consists of tasks I have to complete, with very little time for what I want to do. Story 59. My way or the highway, and I will stand by that. I will never again cut corners or compromise my approach, beliefs, and desires in life. Anything less than what is right is unacceptable. Story 60. It's like carrying a heavy bag of rocks over your shoulder. Some of the rocks are bigger and heavier than others. Those represent the important things. The smaller rocks symbolize minor problems. Life feels like a constant cycle of removing rocks while more are added. All the while, you carry around a bomb with a fuse that anyone can light, and once it's lit, you can't extinguish it. I get frustrated by things, and as soon as I begin to react, the next incident angers me even more, leading me further down the rabbit hole. Story 61. This is difficult to explain. I guess at first I need to grab a coffee and make a bread roll to think about it. I love this question, but words may not be enough to convey my thoughts. The only one besides me who has truly had the chance to fully perceive this is my dissociative self. She would describe it as an interactive emotional artwork that functions like a sandbox simulation, filled with vast landscapes of visualized and manifested thoughts, offering windows to reality for all the senses. It feels like a world existing between a book I write on the fly and the objective space I inhabit physically. I couldn't find better words for this. If another being were ever to touch this and gain a full impression, they would need to embark on a journey to become my soulmate. Story 62. My intrusive thoughts are centered around how I could ruin every good relationship I have. They tend to go into details. Story 63. Interesting honesty. One moment, I feel upset because everyone is in love, and I want to experience love. The next moment, I feel energized and joyful, though I don't even know where this energy comes from. Story 64. That's a very difficult question. My brain is melting. I suppose being myself is similar to being my cat. I am not far behind him in development. Story 65. I talk to myself a lot. It helps me organize my thoughts and put plans together. I take long walks every day for this. I think it keeps me sane and is quite calming. Story 66. I'm relaxed, but I also enjoy reading about psychology and psychocybernetics. I love cats and all animals. I like to travel both physically and mentally. I have many vivid dreams that I sometimes wish to stay in. It's enjoyable. Story 67. I have groups that try to convince me to stop my normal, productive behavior and go have some fun. Fun is usually lazy and self-destructive. I also have an audience that engages when I'm in a crowd. I need to entertain it and, at times, sacrifice the feelings of real people to satisfy it. I am aware of these shortcomings and work to manage them. I am a much better person than I used to be. Story 68. Would you like to join and check? I am not taking any responsibility for any side effects you may experience afterward. Story 69. Depends on the day, honestly, especially these days as I begin to age a bit. Like most, I have my ups and downs. As a salesperson, I feel this is amplified. When I am focused, have a clear directive, and accomplish my goals, I feel and genuinely believe it's true in that moment. I might be the most attractive and talented person on the planet. I walk with confidence as if it were actually true. Good things happen, money is made, relationships flourish, and I travel more. When I am off and in a slump, I feel like I am just a moment away from not opening the parachute and instead taking the plunge. Few calls get made, less money is earned, little sunlight is seen, and relationships diminish. It's a real Jekyll and Hyde situation for sure. Luckily, I'm about 85% Jekyll, but I will say Hyde's 15% feels exponentially worse and harder to shake each time he surfaces. Right now, I am feeling more like Hyde, and that percentage is creeping up at an alarming rate. Overall, though, it's pretty great. I generally care very little about yesterday, don't stress over tomorrow, and have minimal concern in any given moment. I'm just here to, without any particular order, have fun, do some good, eat, sleep, and enjoy life. I keep it simple and keep moving. I've had numerous people tell me that I have big golden retriever energy. People tend to like me. I'm friendly with everyone, very loyal, and love to have fun. Just don't leave me alone for too long, or else things start to get damaged, and I may misbehave, you know what I mean? Story 70. I saw someone mention having 47 tabs open at all times, and I completely agree. I constantly think about eating pizza, my future, getting into better shape, eating healthier, and how much I started to dislike fast food because of how bad it makes me feel when I do eat it. I think about death, good memories, and have random conversations with myself. I often wonder if the memories I'm recalling are even real, or if I'm just imagining them. What really stumps me, though, is whether other people analyze everything as much as I do. Story 71. Imagine a mouse on a wheel that is so overworked it passed away 15 years ago, but is somehow still clocked in, producing non-stop thoughts. However, I will note that a benefit of being in my head is that I am very organized and good with dates because, along with the never-ending thoughts, I also have a never-ending to-do list. Story 72. Picture people swimming in a pool, drinking cocktails with ice, sunbathing, and laughing. But it's behind thick glass, and on the other side is a desert with scorching temperatures, where I am watching the pool while dying of thirst. Story 73. It's pretty calm. Nothing too volatile is likely to happen there. There is a large section devoted to fiber arts and textile history. Story 74. It's 5 a.m., and I haven't slept. It's 29 degrees Celsius, and I'm supposed to return to work today after my operation. I'm overtired and overthinking it. Story 75. It's like I'm coasting down the road, going through my daily activities. Then suddenly, there are 20 different people shooting at me from various directions, and I'm running around trying to take care of one thing. However, I get distracted before I can finish and switch to another task. The noise is overwhelming, and I can't think at all. People are talking, but nothing makes sense. Their words sound jumbled like the adults in a Peanuts cartoon. Abruptly, all the noise stops, everything goes away, and I zone out completely, forgetting everything that felt so important just a minute ago. Rinse and repeat. Story 76. It starts with low static in the morning, slowly transitioning to a gentle hum interspersed with crickets chirping. Then it escalates to a high-pitched screech overlaid by every Spotify user's hype playlist playing simultaneously, followed by the sound of tires screeching on asphalt. It finally concludes with video game music on repeat until unconsciousness is achieved. Pair this with the constant physical sensation of hot air coming out of the oven when you're checking on your boxed lasagna, and that represents an average day for me. Story 77. What's it like in my head? It depends on whether I have the right amount of medication. Without it, I experience racing, worried thoughts about everything, and I constantly think that people hate me or that I'm going to die. I have generalized anxiety. When I am on my medications, it's nice and calm. Usually, I think about my interests or what I will be doing with the day ahead of me, often with a repetitive song playing in the background. What it's like to be me. It feels like I never received the handbook on how to be a normal human and had to learn as I went. Now, in my mid-30s, I often feel imposter syndrome as a fully actualized adult with a child and a job. Despite that, I am the happiest I've been regarding myself, my family, my love, and my life. Things are good. Story 78. Constant self-criticism, racing thoughts, and personal thought experiments occur alongside rare instances of positive self-talk and happiness. Story 79. It's chaos until it becomes strangely peaceful. It includes a mix of good and bad emotions, making it sometimes impossible to identify them. It brings confusion, indecisiveness, sadness, hesitation, fear, loneliness, regret, and shame. However, it also involves fun, lightness, empathy, love, and care. It's overwhelming, but most of all, it's exhausting. Story 80. Imagine kicking a toy box down the fire escape of an old rundown warehouse hosting a party. Now you are halfway there. Story 81. Struggling to exist rather than truly live. Constantly feeling overwhelmed and holding myself responsible for everything that goes wrong. Story 82. I tend to overthink and process too much, often forgetting to step outside. People need to invite me or drop by, or else I might become a recluse and find excuses to stay home. I am aware of this tendency and I don't like it. I need to ask others to check in on me, or I will simply take longer to motivate myself to get outside. My thoughts race quickly, but I move slowly in reality. I take too long on tasks and must create preventive measures in advance. I also need to avoid aggressive individuals who might exploit my slowness as a tactic to manipulate me. Story 83. Wow, that's an interesting question. I may be older, but I feel youthful and am intensely curious. I am face-blind, so I won't recognize a new acquaintance out of context. I love my family deeply and give them all the space they need. I find natural outdoor spaces thrilling, but I have uncovered a couple of phobias. I could not go down the submarine hatch at Pearl Harbor and could not look down into the Grand Canyon or get within about 3 feet of the edge. Story 84. In school, it's 50-50. I might actually be listening or I am thinking of a story I want to write. Story 85. I believe my inner monologue is both humorous and awkward, but it also has moments of impressive wit that I keep to myself. Story 86. I haven't done enough. I could have done it better. I could have made it easier for him. I could have been nicer to her. I need to call them this weekend. I haven't prayed in a few days. I need to wake up earlier. I need to give my dog more playtime with me. Story 87. Generally, it is pretty pleasant and amusing, but also often very frustrating. There is a lot of creative thought and almost no hostility, malice, or disdain. Dark spirals are infrequent but incredibly powerful, focusing on points of weakness in discipline. Constantly curious yet easily distracted, I have many interesting thoughts but not enough time to focus on all of them to the degree I would like. Internal dialogue or music plays constantly, sometimes both. Where did I put the item I just had? I just had it. Okay, where have I been? I check the most likely locations in all areas I've been in since the last time I used it. Not in any of the likely spots, so I double back and check all locations more thoroughly. Still not there. How is this possible? I haven't been anywhere else. I check again, nothing. Okay, that's strange. I just had it though. Where else could it be? I've checked all logical places. What illogical places could it be? This continues on, every day, most of the day. That's the frustrating part. The question of why my brain works this way. How can I improve my mindfulness? My mind cycles through all known information on mindfulness practices, trying to bookmark work on mindfulness. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. There are so many things I would like to do, but there is too little time, too little companionship, and too many responsibilities with too little collaboration. I find it incredible that anyone ever answers no when asked if they could live forever. There are endless incredible experiences and interesting things to learn and do. How could anyone not want a chance to learn about all their interests? With each new interest pursued, new interests emerge. The same goes for relationships and connections to others. Each is unique yet relates dynamically to one another through the experience of the observer, for lack of a better term. In summary, what is it like in my head? Pleasantly chaotic. Story 88. I cannot trust half of my family. I have no friends and no money. I feel stalked by many in my town. I have experienced trauma, such as assault and exploitation, in nearly every way possible. Despite this, I still love life and its infinite promise of divinity and peace. I believe in taking care of myself, even if it means being alone. I enjoy solitude and cherish the simple things life offers, as they truly matter to me. I have no desire for relationships and prefer a quiet, natural existence away from modern civilization, focusing only on my basic needs. I have hope for my future and no regrets about my past. All my experiences have been lessons that help me grow and understand my place in this world. I am satisfied with my body, appearance, and mind, though I am not content with how I have been treated or the circumstances I have faced in America. Story 89. It's difficult to cope with overthinking, pessimism, and constant anxiety. One might yearn for relief. Story 90. I am a 49-year-old female from the UK, and I tend to overthink. There is always something happening in my mind. I have strange dreams. I often feel guilty and get bored easily. I am kind and compassionate. I experience persistent demand avoidance. I love cats, most animals, and children. I usually avoid going to the doctor for most issues. I would do anything for anyone, even at my own expense. I learn by doing and am a visual learner. I consider myself intelligent, but not excessively so. I can be scatterbrained. Story 91. Resilience now is peaceful. Nothing affects me too much. If it does, reaching normalcy is easier. I don't criticize myself, but sometimes, just in a fun way, I tell myself how stupid I am, without meaning it even in my head. It's actually weird. Story 92. Not great. It's a constant battle trying to distract myself from my internal monologue, which is filled with anger and anxiety. Story 93. The constant narrative persists even in my dreams when I finally get to sleep. It never shuts up. It flits from one subject to another and seems to enjoy when I hyperfixate on one thing for too long, such as journaling, politics, or spirituality. When I'm not focused on those, it's a jumble of thoughts competing for attention. It's exhausting. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.